We are back. Welcome back to the Bet Leveling Show. I am Alan. I'll be hosting the NBA slate for tonight's games. We got a four-game slate. Should be super simple to go through the ins and outs of it. I'll go through exactly what the public is on, where the money's at, where Vegas would make the most, and then I'll give you guys my play at the end. I will then follow it up with my four favorite player props on the day. Whenever it comes to a small slate, I feel like I always do better. And today I got the hoodie up, so I feel like I'm super locked in, super focused. So we will see what's going on. And stay tuned as well, because I may have a bonus play for you guys at the end. But first things first, we always got to go through the recap. So here we go. I gave a few plays throughout the video from yesterday. And as you guys can see, we hit 8 out of 12 from the plays that I was giving out. We hit the Milwaukee money line, Washington plus 14.5, which is crazy because they only lost by 14. We'll take that extra 0.5. Sometimes it's in our favor, sometimes it's not. We lost that Tyrese Maxey the other day by 35.5. We lost that by 0.5 as well. So it happens. This time we were on the side of winning, so we'll take that. Then we cashed the New Orleans Pelicans plus 10.5. We cashed Atlanta, Indiana over for the Dallas and Portland game, and then the Toronto Raptors money line, which was super sweaty. They only won by 1 point, but we will take that at the end of the day. Now, I thought they were going to go over this game, but it honestly makes sense for how close it was back and forth and how, down to the wire it was. So I don't hate that. But as you guys can see, we did cash majority of the plays that were given yesterday. Now, going through the player props here as well. As you guys can see, I gave out 5 of my favorite player props. I really thought Cam Thomas was going to keep his momentum, but clearly he did not. And I really am surprised about the Josh Giddey. Josh Giddey not getting that rebounds and assists is crazy to me. So I don't know what happened, whether it's minute restrictions, because I was looking at him at the bottom of the third. He only played like 16, 17 minutes at the time. Everyone else was playing like 22, 23, 24 and more. So I was kind of confused on what happened. I didn't know if he got injured or not. Have no idea. But everything else, as you guys can see, cashed in our favor. So today we'll see exactly what's on our, in our games and in our slate and see what we got going on today. And hopefully we get the full 5-on-5 cash or 4-on-4 cash, depending on what you guys do. Now, before we go into the slate and more, make sure you guys are joining the Discord. It's completely free of charge. I do not charge anybody. I give you more plays throughout. I also, give the ins and outs throughout the day, some more plus and minus, see where everyone is focused on, because throughout the day things change, right? So I can give out plays and show you exactly where the public's on right now, but it could change throughout the day, and I stay looked at on that, and I give you more plays throughout the day. So make sure you guys tune in. It's completely free to join. Why not just join just to browse or whatever the case may be, or just expect the plays? And then also, if you don't want to join the Discord, you can also follow me at X as well at Live to Amuse. So other than that, let's dive in deep into the NBA slate, see what we got going on, and let's cash today. Today feels good. Now let's get the ball rolling here. So we got the Philadelphia 76ers versus Memphis Grizzlies. And before I go into depth about this, I just want to mention I get all of this information here from Pickett. It's completely free, not a sponsor by any means whatsoever. But we get everything from Pickett. And I did want to just mention here, this information is from the public that uses Pickett specifically. So it's not the entire public that are, going towards or for Philly or whoever against. This is only for Pickett users. Now, if you guys want more in depth about like the entire public and what players they're on, what teams they're on, and more, you would have to get stuff like Outlier, Prop Finder, Prop Madness, whatever the case may be, to try to find that information. I know it's out there for free as well, but you probably will have to find it. Pickett's really good because majority of people that do what we do is on Pickett, so this gives a really good kind of line that I really love and kind of gauge throughout the day. So just wanted to give that insight there. But like I said, let's dive deep. No one really cares, right? So let's get this going. Again, start us off. Philadelphia 76ers against Memphis today. Super close game. We got Philadelphia 76ers sitting at minus 110 to win, and then Memphis Grizzlies at plus 100 at home. Right now, the spread is super close, super thin. It's minus 1.5 for both teams. So this is really a toss-up. In my opinion, I'm going to go towards the Philadelphia favor. I might be with the public here. The reason why is just because with Memphis being at home, they're getting an extra 2-3 point juice, which means losing by 1.5, they still think they're going to lose. And then on top of it, I just think 76ers has a lot more units against Memphis. John Morant hasn't really been stepping up as much as he could. Now, this game, he might step up. Who knows? but I do think that Philadelphia just has a lot more guys to step in and do the things they need to get the job done here. Tyrese Maxey is stepping up and ramping up here. VJ Edgecombe, hopefully he has a good game and starts ramping up. Embiid is playing this game. Paul George, Jared McCain. These guys are, stepping up and can really get some wins for Philly. Whereas Memphis, on the other hand, not saying that they're bad. I mean, they do got a sniper like Cam Spencer. They got Ja Morant. Like I said, he needs to step up. And Jared Jackson, I will say, is stepping up like crazy. But I just don't think it's enough pieces to go against Philly here. So just off first glance, I'm kind of with the public. But let's look through the numbers because the numbers can also be very telling. So as you guys can see, 80% of the money is on Philadelphia to win outright, which is good odds as well, so I don't blame them. And then they do have Philadelphia to cover that -1.5 spread. So majority of the money on that. So that's what scares me a little bit. Where Vegas would make the most money right here is if Memphis wins outright. Even though it is plus money, it's only plus 100, so it's basically doubling your coin. They still, with 20% of the public on them, they still wouldn't have to pay out as much as they would have to if Philadelphia wins. So if you guys want to make a really super safe, my two super safe would be Memphis to win outright. I just don't think they win, but I'm going to go against the public here with my decision to give you guys. So Memphis to win outright, or if you guys want to be like me and alternate a few lines, I would recommend doing maybe Memphis plus 4.5, maybe Memphis plus 5.5. But initially, I do think Philly's going to win. This one's a coin flip to me, in my opinion. But I'm just looking solely at the money here. And then we have the over/under sitting at 233.5, so pretty high scoring game. You can expect some good player props out this game. Some Cam Spencer action might be a good focus. I like Tyrese Maxey in this game, but you can't go wrong with going with Embiid. I feel like Embiid's pretty much a wagon every game. So I usually like him to get 20, maybe 22, 23. I think his regular line's 23.5. Don't hate that at all. He can easily get 25. It is Embiid at the end of the day. So good player props to focus on here. But again, what I would give you guys here is I would say this game probably does go over, but Memphis, I would say plus 4.5, plus 5.5 for Memphis for my official play that I give you guys. Now, let's dive deep into the next game here. We have the Boston Celtics going against the Utah Jazz. Utah Jazz is at home. We have the Boston as the favorites, -280, and then Utah Jazz sitting at plus 240. We have the spread sitting at -7.5, and then the over-under sitting at 240.5. So this is going to be the highest scoring game of the night. As you guys can look as well, Boston just lost their last game against Portland. Honestly, they were due for a loss. I just didn't think it was going to be to Portland. In fact, I thought it was going to be to the Jazz here, which doesn't mean that they can't lose back-to-back. I just thought their first loss in a long time was going to be against the Jazz, not Portland whatsoever. And then, as you guys can see, too, when it comes down to it, Utah Jazz has won their last two out of the last two games, and they are sitting 2 out of 5. So, they got some good momentum here. I just don't know if they have enough units to go against Boston. But again, looking at the score sheet and everything, if Jaylen Brown is the only one stepping up for this team, Utah Jazz could probably keep up with them, right? So that's just what I'm looking at. But here, let's see what the public's on. So the public is majority on Boston. That money line, it's not a bad money line, -200, 250, 280, whatever. It's not bad. It's not a crazy payout for Vegas, just because the odds are so juiced. And then just, again, Boston is Boston, at the end of the day. Spread, most people are on Boston to cover that -7.5 spread. So that's probably where I aim. I'd probably make a little bit of an alternate line. I think Utah Jazz, especially sitting at home, can cover about 10-point lead. I just don't think they can lose by more than 10, in my opinion. They've been playing really well. Markkanen's been stepping up. Keontae George is a great unit. Isaiah Collier's doing his thing. They got some good people to step up all around, and it looks like they have pretty fun playing. Good morale, chemistry's getting there. This team kind of reminds me of like a lesser version of the San Antonio Spurs. There's not of course the Spurs has Wembanyama And again, Utah Jazz has marketing, but I just feel like, they have so many young guys around them that they can make something shake here if they step up in the right direction, whether it's coaching, injuries, whatever the case may be. I think this team can really step up and surprise people in the next few years if they keep the momentum going, in my opinion. So they've had a lot of upsets throughout the season. I would not be surprised if they win. I just don't think Boston loses back-to-back games. So I'm going to go with the Utah Jazz to cover. And when it comes down to the public, it looks like, I'm going to fade them as well. So plus 10.5 would be my Utah Jazz play to give you guys here. And then if you guys want to do the over-under, again, at 240.5, that is high. But if we look at the Utah Jazz last couple games, whenever they play against any team this year so far, it's been super high scoring. So, for example, the Utah Jazz has scored 127, 129, 128, 112, and 127. So they are scoring pretty high, already at 120, 125, and then if we already think that Boston's going to win, they're going to have to outscore the Utah Jazz. So the Boston's going to have to score, way more than that, maybe around 130, 135, whatever the case may be. So I do think this is going to be a high-scoring game. Another great game to focus on player props here as well. So I don't mind the public being on the over, but if you do want to go against them, I don't blame you. 240 is high, but I just will say the momentum and looking back at the data, it is in the over's favor. So where I would really feel like you can get some good juice and good lines and a cash rate would be the Utah Jazz plus 10.5, in my opinion. It wouldn't be too crazy juiced. It'd actually be less juice of a Boston Celtics money line, to be honest with you. So that's my play to give you guys here. Now, let's jump into the next game. We got Detroit versus Los Angeles Lakers. Lakers are at home. Lakers need to figure it out. They need to figure it out. I mean, they did get their win against Sacramento in their last game, and they blew them out. So don't get me wrong. But this is not a Sacramento Kings. This is Detroit Pistons. Detroit Pistons, yes, they just lost, but it's still the Detroit Pistons. They are still the number one in the entire East Coast. They have been playing super well. Cade Cunningham's been doing his thing. Jalen Duren has been stepping up. Tobias Harris. These players here have, whatever it's morale, whatever it's injuries, whatever it's coaching, I don't know what it is, but this team is really stepping up in the right direction here. So they lost back-to-back games. They lost against the Utah Jazz, lost against the Clippers. Now they got to go against the Lakers. Now they lost 2 back-to-back, and they've been going on a crazy win streak. I do not know if they're going to lose again for the third time in a row, especially being number one in the league, or in the East, I should say. So this is something that I'm going to look at in the direction, but at the same time, I do know Lakers need to continue to win. They lost 3 straight, and then they just got their first win after those last 3 against Sacramento yesterday. So this is something that I may have to look at as well. So this game right here could be a harder one to predict. So let's follow the money here. Let's follow the money. So we got the Detroit Pistons. Most people are on the money line here. Sorry. I was just thinking about it like, okay, they are on the money line. So basically, they're probably thinking what I'm thinking here. And let me just go through the odds for you guys just really quick. So we have the Detroit Pistons at minus 130 as the favorites. Makes sense. Lakers are sitting at plus 125. The spread sitting at minus 2.5. So super close game. Again, the Lakers are getting a little bit of juice. So they really think that the Detroit Pistons can win by 4 or 5. Something to keep in mind. And then the over-under sitting at 231.5. So again, mid-scoring team. But again, let's go back to the public here. So majority of the public is on Detroit money line. I don't hate that at all. Vegas wouldn't have to pay out like crazy. Where I would really focus is that Detroit spread. So that minus 2.5. So this is where I would really put a lot of focus, because if Detroit wins and they cover, this is where they're going to have to pay out a lot. And then also just determining that Lakers are the Lakers. They still got LeBron. Luka's looking good. Ayton needs to step up. That Ayton and Jalen Duren matchup might be really well, but that might be in the favor more of the Pistons, in my opinion. But we'll see. We will see what happens. My personal opinion for this play, I really do like Lakers to cover the spread, but I might do an alternate just like I did on the last game. Maybe do a plus 5.5 is the spread that I would give you guys. If the Lakers lose, it's not going to be by more than 5. I don't even think it'll be more than 4. But just to be extra safe, I would say Lakers plus 5.5 would be my favorite play here. And then if this game goes over under, a lot of people are on the under. The public may know what they're talking about here. Let's look at their last 5. So Detroit has scored 99. They scored 129, 120, or 136, 110, and then they scored 112. So they're averaging about 110, 112, to 120 between those. And then the Lakers, let's look at their last 5. So the last 5, they scored 125 last night. They scored 96, 108, 88, and then they a high scoring game with against the Utah Jazz with 143. So I might be with the public here. When it comes down to the under. It could be a toss-up. So I'm going to stay away from the total. If you guys have a great over-under for this game, please let me know in the comments. You might help me out, cash something. But I think I'm going to stay away. I think I'm just going to stick with the plus 5.5 for the Lakers spread here. So that's what I'm going to stick with. Now, last game of the slate. Making this quick. We got the Sacramento Kings versus the Los Angeles Clippers. Sacramento Kings are on a back-to-back. So they just came off of playing against LA. And then the Clippers come off of playing Detroit. So they literally both teams are just flipped right now. They're all in LA. So the Detroit just played the Clippers last night. Now they're going to play the Lakers, and the Sacramento Kings played the Lakers. Now they're going to play the Clippers. Must love how that works over there in the West Coast. But looking at everything, we have the Clippers sitting at the favorites minus 400. The Sacramento Kings are plus 330. The spread is sitting at plus 10.5, and then the over-under is a pretty low-scoring game at 220.5. So this is pretty low. I don't blame that. With Kawhi Leonard going bonkers the past couple days. This man just scored 55 last night, and I think he continues to ramp up. He might have a sit-down day today. That's something to keep in mind as well, or to look at least. Just because, he scored 55 points. The day before that, I think he scored like 25 or more. So he just has a great momentum. I think he's going to have a downtime game, and I think against a team like the Sacramento Kings, this might be the time where he does it. So maybe focus on someone like a James Harden, Zubac, some side players on the Clippers may be a good focus point. I just don't know if Kawhi will continuously have his momentum that he does. He could prove me wrong 1,000%, but I do know just like teams are losing back to back, they're due for a win. Same thing in reverse as well. When a player's doing super good, they got to be due for a slowdown, point as well. So that's what I'll be looking at. But we're not here to talk about player props. We're here to talk about the money, right? So let's check it out. Clippers, majority of people on the money line for Clippers. I don't blame them. Sacramento just lost like crazy. They have crazy injuries. They got new coaching. They still are figuring things out. DeRozan just got back. They got to figure some things out. So I don't hate the Clippers winning here. Now, this is a big surprise. The Sacramento Kings on 56% to cover the spread. That just means that Clippers just won't beat them by 10 or more, which makes sense. I mean, it's sitting at 9.5 plus 10.5, depending on where you're looking. Not to lose by 10. I hope that's the case. I would have thought that was the case against the Lakers, but they lost by like 24 against the Lakers. And the best way to think about this here, if we do think the Clippers can't cover that Sacramento Kings spread, do we think the Clippers are better than the Lakers, or are the Lakers better than the Clippers? That's the best way to think of it. If the people think the Clippers are better than the Lakers, you're going to want to nuke that Clippers spread. If you think the Lakers are not as good as or better than the Clippers, and that the Lakers, of course, blew them out and Sacramento can hold their own against the Clippers, then, okay, you want to go for covering the spread for the Sacramento. My opinion here, just looking at the money and just looking at the momentum, I think the Sacramento Kings might not cover. I can see Clippers winning by 11 or more, but I don't know if you guys heard me in the last couple videos. I do not trust Clippers whatsoever. I stay away from them when it comes to decision making, when it comes to player props, when it comes to a lot of things. Just because I've been seeing some weird stuff happening with their organization, their players, and their coaching. So I try not to give a crazy, incentive when it comes to them, or insight, I should say. Excuse me. And also, I just don't want to get super invested when it comes to making their picks for them, just because I've just been seeing crazy stuff. So if I were to pick anything, just to give you guys, I would say take that Clippers minus 8.5. Maybe I can see them winning by 9 or more. I hate that I'm saying this, but I just am, just to give you guys something. But minus 8.5 is not a bad play for the Clippers. It goes against the grain, goes against the public. Vegas makes some good coin here as well, just looking at it. And of course, these things can fluctuate throughout, but just looking at it right now, I like the Clippers, maybe 8.5, 7.5, just to alternate it a little bit. But I do think Clippers win here. And then over under, it's such a low scoring game. anytime I see anything when it comes to the total for anything less than 222, 221 or lower, I'm always going to go under now just because I've been learning my lessons. Because anytime I pick 219 or 220 and I'm like, oh, they can hit that, they don't. So when I see 220 or 219, I'm going to pick under. So I'm going to be with the public here and say the under for this total. But my main pick that I would love to give you guys is Clippers minus 8.5. I would definitely play that there. So that would be my recommendations. Now, after all that babbling, after all that insight, after everything here, let's jump into the player props that I got for you guys. Again, stay tuned. I'll give you guys my 4 favorite player props, and then I may have a bonus play. So, again, stick to the end. So, let's jump into that now. All right, so now the moment has arrived. We got the 4 favorite player props on the day, and as you guys can see here, I got my 4s. So, we got Tyrese Maxey to hit over 29.5 PR, Jaylen Brown to over 29.5 points, Lauri Markkanen to get 29.5 PRA, and then Luka Doncic to hit over 29.5 points. And I know what you guys are thinking. What's up with this 29.5 stuff? I like patterns. I like numbers. Sue me. And my favorite player is Steph Curry. Get the 30 on his back. Again, sue me. No, I'm just kidding. Honestly, when I was doing the research for these plays and building this play up, it honestly just happened that way. And I looked back at it, I was like, wow, this is really only 29.5. Maybe my brain goes straight to patterns. Couldn't tell you the real reasons. But I do think it's a great play. If you guys build this up on Prize Picks, it is a 4x play, so $100 on that would pay out $400 back, which is a $300 return. 20 makes 100, 25 makes 125, so $100 return there. So this isn't a bad play in my opinion. Can get you some good coin, and let me show you guys the exact reason why I picked these players out here. So to start us off, we got Luka Doncic over 29.5 points. This man has hit it 7 out of his last 10 games. Again, with no AR in the game. Him, building up a little bit with LeBron, trying to figure out how to play there. JJ Redick coaching him. I think the ball stays in Luka's hands. He is the main point guard bringing the ball up. He hit it obviously against the team yesterday. Sacramento. I was like, wait, what team did he play? Sacramento. He played Sacramento last night, and I think he just continues that momentum here. So, Detroit is not an easy target to go past, but I do think he can perform. I mean, it's Luka Doncic at the end of the day. He can really perform, get 30 points on anybody. So I really do like this line. 70% hit rate, I'll take that. Then next we got Tyrese Maxey hitting over 29.5 PR. His regular line, I believe, was 31.5, so he only brought it down a couple points here. I do like the 30. And one of the things, a lot of people will probably be on Tyrese Maxey's assists. I like his rebounds. I think he just has a lot more. And Memphis gives up a lot of rebounds to point guards, and then also a lot of points to point guards as well. So I will say one of the biggest ones I really did like was Joel Embiid to hit 20 points, so over 19.5. That was my first original play for this. But as I was diving deep into the research, looking at power rankings and looking at defensive when it comes down to both teams side to side, it looked like Tyrese Maxey would be the best look for this game, just because Memphis does give a lot of points, rebounds, assists all throughout when it comes to that point guard position. So I was like, all right, let me switch it to Tyrese Maxey, and this is the play I went with. I really do like this play. 80% hit rate on the last 10, and why not do it again tonight? So I think he's going to keep ramping up and keep that momentum going. So I really do like that Tyrese Maxey. Next, we have the Markkanen. He's hit this at an 80% hit rate. He's hit it 5 out of his last 5 games, so 100% of his last 5. And so I think he continues to build that up. Again, he is playing at home, playing against Boston. Boston does have a okay point power forward and centers to where they can guard him. They just don't have enough. If they had a Jason Tatum playing, I think Markkanen would go lower or probably under here. But because they don't, and this is probably the highest scoring game of the night, I do think Markkanen will be a big factor of that. And then on top of it, too, when it comes down to thinking about it, they just beat Detroit, the number 1 team in the East. So Detroit's better than the Celtics record-wise, and they beat them. And then also, Celtics just lost to Portland Trailblazers. Utah Jazz are at home. I think Markkanen continues to build that momentum. I think he continues to cash, and I think he'll be a big factor on either the Jazz upsetting or keeping it very, very close. They're going to need Markkanen if they want to keep this game close. So I am on Markkanen tonight. And I did have a bonus play for you guys, so I appreciate you staying tuned to the end, and I do have it right here. Jalen Duren over 10.5 rebounds. Now, if you want to juice, make it a little bit juice and buy it down by 1 point, I do love his 9.5. In fact, his 9.5 rebounds is sitting at minus 300. So it went from minus 300 just to get 10 to now minus 115 for 10.5. So I really do think this is what I did with, honestly, Stephon Castle from yesterday's video. His line for 6.5 was actually plus money, or fairly close to it. Is like minus 105, so really close to plus money. But his 6 assists was minus 300. So kind of the same analogy here, same research and same data analysis on this one. So I do think Jalen Duran gets over 11 or more rebounds. I think he's projected probably around 12 or 13, especially against Ayton. I think when it comes down in the paint, Ayton doesn't even play in the paint like that. He is, but he's not. And I think Jalen Duran could really eat when it comes down to being down low. So, and he also did, he hit this line in the last game against Clippers against one of the best rebounders in the league against Zubac. So I think he could do it against someone like an Ayton, who is really not as aggressive when it comes to getting boards. So I really do love this play. This is it right here. If you guys want to add this to the player prop here, of the prize picks that I gave you guys prior, it comes out to an 8x play on prize picks. So, again, 100 to pay $800, $700 return. You can do 25 for 150, so on and so forth. Or my math might be wrong on that. It could be 25 to 150, I believe. I don't remember. So either way, it's an 8x if you want to do all 5. If you want to just do the 4 or mix and match, you could do that as well. But either way, let me know what you guys think below. I would love to hear your insights. Go ahead and join the Discord as well for free. Follow me on X. But that's all I have for you guys. I appreciate you tuning in, and I will see you on the next one.